Hello, it's me, Cherie, back with you today, Rainbow Hair Artist again. And today I want to just run through with you a little bit about how to do colour removal. So I've got my top 5 colour removal techniques here in front of me today, and I'm going to show you how to remove vivid hair colours. It's going to make me a little bit sad because I've only just coloured her, but it's okay, the sacrifice will be worth the video. Before I begin, I'd like to just make a little disclaimer and just let you know that all of my videos that I make like these are aimed and directed at other hairdressers. If you are not a hairdresser, please feel free to still watch, but you do just need to understand that in no way will this qualify you. Okay, enough about that, let's get into it. So I'm going to show you my top 5. I would never really use all of these 5 at the same time. I would usually start off testing with about 3 different types, but I just wanted to show you all of them. So the first one over here is the clear and 20 volt technique. I don't know whether you've heard of that already or not. I did not have any clear on me, unfortunately, to make this video, so I've just gone with a blonde, which is just a 903. That's not really ideal. Like ideally you want to use a permanent clear, which would usually just be 000 kind of color. But if you don't have that, the next best thing to use would be a high lift tint, like a 10, 11 or 12. So this is not ideal, but it still will work. So clear and 20 volt technique here. Then I've got bleach and 5 volt. I have got the Malibu Direct Dye Lift, which is a specific color remover intended for these direct dyes. So I've got that there. I have got the bicarb soda and 20 vol with shampoo technique here. So I've just gone and mixed up my bicarb soda and a little bit of my Fanola No Yellow shampoo. You don't have to use No Yellow, you can just use normal shampoo, or an anti-dandruff shampoo works really well, or you can even just use dishwashing liquid in replacement for this. And the last one I am testing today is the Pulpurite Blank Canvas and 10 volt. Okay, so let's put those to the test. The first thing I'll do before I start anything is a patch test. So I'll take a little piece in the back here of the hair and I'll do 1, 2 or 3 different tests. So I'll mix up these, put them in, and first, before I start, I'm going to see what's going to work, because it's very hard to know and it's very hit and miss. Unfortunately, there's no one technique of color removal that I've found has worked for me every single time. So every time, even if I know the client really well and I know what color brands have been used, I still do a test so that I know that I'm not going to waste my time by going and doing a full head application of something that just isn't going to work for me. And I can't stress that enough, would be the biggest, most important rule. Number 1 is
please strand test.
Usually it will only take me about 10 minutes before I see something starting to work. So you don't need to put them on and process them for the full like 30 minutes, 45 minutes. I'll usually just do this, and within 10 minutes I've come up with a plan of how I'm going to approach it. So you always want to do a strand test in the back here somewhere, so that if all else fails and it turns into a complete disaster, at least it's at the back of the client's head. And one thing I will mention before I start applying these is I never apply them to the roots. Even if the colour says that it doesn't lift natural hair, I don't trust them. I have major trust issues. So just keep the colour remover off the natural hair just as a precaution, and you just want to put it on where the colour is. Here, so beginning with the clear and 20 volt technique, or high lift tint, so it's the same thing. This was kind of a popular technique that I did use for a little while, but I ended up kind of going off it, and that is because when you use a tint, even though it can kind of remove the colour, what it does is it's actually putting pigment in the hair at the same time, so it's often not really an ideal technique if you're wanting to do a vivid then after, because the hair is not going to go as bright because it's kind of already got some pigment in it, if that makes sense. So it's not very often that I have got holes in all my gloves. I'm sorry. Okay, I've lost the gloves. I'm sorry, no judgment. So yeah, often it's not a technique that I'll go with because I find that even though the color has removed and it's back to blonde, it's just not an ideal canvas for me to work on with vivids because I'm putting color in there. I hope that makes sense for you. Okay, moving on. Now this is bleach and 5-volt. Making sure that's saturated, wiping my hands. Next is our Malibu Direct Dye Lift and 20-volt. With the Malibu Direct Dye, it's quite versatile. You can mix it with water, you can mix it with 20-volt, or you can mix it with 10-volt. So just depending on how damaged the hair is. Obviously, if the hair is more damaged and more fragile, then I would opt for water or 10-volt. But since it's my mannequin head, I don't really care. So now I am going to put on my bicarbonate soda 20-volt and shampoo. The idea behind using a purple shampoo is just to kind of tone it so that the blonde that you're going to get has been nice and toned. Thorough saturation is key. Like most of the time I will apply these to dry hair. You can do it to wet hair, damp hair. You just got to remember that the water is going to dilute whatever you're putting on it, so just keep that in mind. And lastly is our blank canvas. See how I just kind of feathered that a little like that, just to make sure it's not like a block line. So I'll let those process for a little, but you can already kind of see some of them are starting to work already, and it's only been like 5 minutes. So that's the good thing is, yes, it's a little bit of effort to go to do this before you start, but it's only going to take you 10 minutes and it's just going to save you so much worry. Once I'm finished this, you can wash it off if you need to, or you can just kind of go over with whichever one you've chosen. So totally up to you. Now I will just add, like this client here, she has only had one color on her hair, and that kind of thing is going to make a big difference for you. So she was blonde before this went on, and it's only been colored once, and it's only been in there for like a couple of weeks. So in theory, this color should come out a lot easier for me, opposed to if you have that vivid client that's had lots of color build up on their hair before. They've put, you know, color over color over color on the top. That can make things a lot harder for you. And sometimes, honestly, I've tried everything and it just doesn't work for me, or it will lift up to a point. Particularly blues seem to hang around for a long time. So I think you've just got to kind of set realistic expectations for your clients and just let them know that it can't always go back to blonde. I hate to say that, but it is the truth. Like, it's not always possible. Sometimes the hair is just too damaged and it can't handle anymore. Sometimes it's stained the cuticle and it just won't come out. So what happens then is it's just a matter of using the color wheel and trying to tone. For example, if I have someone that's had blue and I've stripped it and it's only kind of come out to that greeny sort of color, from there I would tone it. A lot of the time I use a pink shampoo to actually tone it, and that'll kind of neutralize it and make it go a little bit silver. Unfortunately, you can only strip them so much before you're just damaging the hair. So strip as much color out as you can, and then you're going to have to look at toning. Most of the time my vivid clients, they're wanting a different vivid color over the top anyway, so we'll just kind of work around the canvas that we have. Like if there's a remaining color, bit of purple, we might just put, you know, purple over that section. Or you've got to work with the canvas to a point when you can't get it all out. And if you do have a vivid client, maybe just let them know when they're having the color that it sometimes can be a bit hard to strip out. I found the best way is to let my client go away and just let it all wash out on its own and then come back for a color. That seems to be the best way, because as soon as we start removing, we start creating damage, and it just gets a bit complicated. So if in an ideal world, they'll just kind of go away and it'll all wash off before they decide to come back in for their next color. That's like the best situation with this. All right, so these colors have been in for a good 5 minutes. I'm going to bring you a little bit closer. Try to. I'm working with a tripod here, so you can see what's going on. Now this is the clear and 20 volt technique. So you can see, even though it wasn't actually clear and 20 volt, that's actually worked quite well. It's kind of going a little bit like orangey. It's not really going back to blonde, but that makes sense because the color I used was a 9-3 in Pravana, which is gold, so I'm not surprised. But it did its job. It did remove the pink. Next is just the bleach and 5 volt. And again, that's kind of blorangey. It's a bit lighter. Definitely looks a bit lighter than that one. And then we have got the Malibu DDL Direct Dye Lift, which has worked quite good. So far they've all done something. They've all worked. And then over here I have got the bicarb soda and 20 volt, and that hasn't really worked in this scenario. Sometimes it does. Sometimes it works really well for me, and other times it just doesn't. I think it just depends on what brand of dye that you've got. Like some of them just work and others don't. And this is our blank canvas color remover. And that was mixed with 10 vol. So yeah, you can see we've got some varying results. When I look at that, the first things that kind of stand out to me would be that one, which was the blank canvas, the Malibu DDL, and the bleach and 5 vol. So I know that either way I go out of those three, that is going to work for me, because I've done my strand test. So there's no guessing. It takes the guessing out of it. And I certainly don't want to be guessing when I'm approaching color work. So from here you will have a decision to make, and that is which way you want to go about it, depending on what you want to achieve. When I look at these results, I can see that the hair is quite like orangey, like it's not light enough. I want to lighten it a bit more. I want it to be like blonde. So I think I'm going to go for bleach and 10 vol, since I know that that's working, because if I do that, it's going to not only remove the color, but it's actually going to kind of lighten the hair a little bit as well. I will add Olaplex into it. But yeah, based on those results and what I want to achieve, that is the way I'm going to go with this job in particular. But just remember, not every single time is going to be the same. Sometimes using bleach can actually be a really bad thing for this, like depending on the color, but some colors they don't react, some direct dyes, they don't react very well with bleach at all, and what can happen is the bleach actually pushes the color further into the cuticle and you get a stain which you then just can't remove at all. So that is why we strand test and we check, and I find it reacts differently with every different color brand. Moral of the story is I never know, I always test, and then I make a decision based on that. So I really hope that you've just found that a little bit helpful. Make sure that you do your research with whatever type of color removal method you want to go for. It's good to have a few different things on your shelf because of this exact reason. You just always want to make sure you're reading the manufacturer's instructions. The directions are on the back there, and the ratios and stuff. One more thing I want to just bring to attention is just read the back. Read the back of your color removers and just compare, because sometimes I have been working with a product and it's said that it's a color remover, but it's really felt like bleach. It's felt like bleach, it's smelt like bleach, and I was pretty convinced that it was bleach, but it was in a packet and it said it was a color remover. So just out of curiosity, one day I checked the back and I checked the ingredients, and it turns out the ingredients that were in this color remover were very, very similar to the ingredients that were listed in my bleach. So just as an experiment one day, maybe you should just do that. It's interesting. I didn't realize actually I had put bleach and 5-vol. So this is bleach and 5-vol that's on here now, but I'm going to just put 10-vol in it anyway because I want it to be a bit stronger and I want it to lift a bit more for me, and I'm not afraid of damaging her hair. So for that reason, I'm actually going to mix up a fresh batch and I'm going to do bleach and 10-vol over the whole head. I've just mixed up my bleach. I have mixed up bleach and 10-vol, and I've done it at about a 1:3 ratio just to make it really nice and spreadable and not like too strong. So I'm going to start at the back like I would with anything. And I'm just going to go over it and just kind of feather it up a little bit like that. So I don't want to go and then like lift her roots, you know. And you want to apply this fast. So I'm not worried about like taking really fine sections or anything. I'm just concerned about getting it on there. If you've got like an assistant who can help you, you probably want to get them on one side as well. Just get it on really fast so that the processing time will be, you know, as even as possible. And you can apply this dry or wet, just totally up to you. Just bear in mind if you do apply it wet, it is going to dilute it and weaken whatever you're putting on it. That's already coming out. I can already see that coming out. So that's why we want to move quickly. Swiping my hands in between though, because I don't want to get like little patches of bleach all over the roots. So just be aware, wipe your hands. Another big section. It is a really tricky thing though, I must admit, removing vivids. And I have had a lot of cases where I just haven't been able to. Like I haven't been able to remove it entirely. I've been able to shift it a little bit, but not remove it entirely. And that's when it's very handy to know your color wheel. And then all you can do is really tone it best you can. Oh, wiping my hands, sorry. Getting all flustered, like in a rush. It does make me a little bit sad taking this colour out. I haven't even washed it once since it's been coloured. It's sad. This is a sad day, but we need to share some information, so. Oh, I forgot to wipe my hands that time, naughty. It's easy to forget when you get in the zone. You just get excited. You forget. But if you can help it, please don't forget, like, do it. So you do not want to end up with little bleach speckles all over your client's roots. That would be very counterproductive. Spread it in, make sure you've got that thorough saturation. And if I'm not getting all of her roots, I did it again. I didn't wipe my hands. I'm so sorry. No point now. What I was going to say is if I don't get all of her roots right now, I might wait until the very end when like most of the colour is ready to come off, and then just give it a really quick go over like at the basin, because the colour's coming out quite quick. You just don't want to leave that bleach sitting on there, you know, for a long time. You could, like, I've seen a lot of people use like cotton wool to kind of keep pieces separated. That's certainly something that you could do if you were a little bit nervous about doing this and the colour getting onto the roots. I'm not too worried, and I'm doing it so quickly, I don't think there's much of a risk. In an ideal world, you'll give it a good brush before you start this. She's going to have a bleached eyebrow too. See how I'm just feathering it, like, and I'm just kind of hitting those foils. You can see the final application. See how I've just kind of feathered it? I applied this very much the way that I would do like a balayage, just because I don't want any harsh lines. You know, it's prevention is better than cure. Even if you've got a product that says it doesn't lift the roots, I just have trust issues. I don't want to take any chances, so I always will apply things like that just to, you know, cover myself. So I don't want to create another problem, you know. So this is the bleach in 10 volt, and you can see it's not only removing the color, but it's actually kind of lightening the hair a little as well, which in this scenario is good, because she was only like a level 9, like 8, 9 when it went on anyway. But obviously you really have to know what you're doing before you attempt anything like this. I strongly recommend that you are a hairdresser before you attempt to do anything like this, because a lot can go wrong. If anyone has ever watched Brad Mondo, we know a lot can go wrong when we're working with chemicals and when we're working with bleach. So just please make sure you kind of know what you're doing. The rainbow panels that were in this are kind of lifting out a little bit differently. Very, very typical that blues and greens are just always the hardest to remove. As you can see in there, we've still kind of got that. The pinks come straight out. And yeah, it is what it is. If it doesn't come out, then I'm just going to do a different color, you know, choose a different color that will cover it. It's not worth bleaching it and bleaching it until the hair is like ready to fall off just to try and get that color out. And even then you still might not. It's just, that's the way it is with these colors. They are a stain. They stain the hair. Maybe just, you know, just mention it to your client before they go one of these colors. And if they are someone who is really concerned and like they want to be able to go back to blonde, just stick with like more pastel colors that, yeah, you can get out of the hair a bit easier. This was a very vivid color and it's very fresh as well. Like I haven't even washed her hair once. It's actually looking really cool though. I'm loving this. I'm loving this color, whatever it is. It looks awesome. Honestly, I think if you left that and that was all just blonde and toned nicely, it would still look cool. It's like green, orange, yellow, green. It's like a tequila sunrise kind of color. I love it. Just go with it. I think that's the key, you know, when you're working with clients, is just realistic expectations. That is the key. I'll tell them before I do it. You know, I'll kind of set the bar low so that if I can get it out, they're amazed. They're like, oh wow, it's better than we expected, you know. Don't go making promises that you might not be able to keep. That's where we go wrong. And I'm just very optimistic. You know, I think it's okay. It's all right if I can't get it out. I'll just do something different. Don't worry. Just have a plan A, plan B, and a plan C with your clients. So, you know, they're not going to be disappointed. And I just explained to a lot of them, like if their hair is too damaged, if the hair is really damaged, I would not do bleach. I would probably go for the bicarb or the Malibu color remover. And I just explained to them, like, your hair is too damaged. They would appreciate you not stressing so much over the color, but still having hair on their head, you know? So you just got to be really honest and just explain it to them. And I don't have any problem. My clients are awesome. I'm very lucky with my clients. They're very cool people. Well, this is about as light as I really need the hair. This has only been, it took me about 10 minutes to apply this whole thing, and it's been on for about 10 minutes. And I'm looking at it thinking, yep, that's good. If I leave it on beyond this, we're going to start really damaging the hair. Not all the color is out. Some of those rainbow pieces are still in, but if you just had an all over pink, that would be out in 10 seconds flat. And you probably could even put this on wet hair at the basin, because it just came off so easily. Like, I don't doubt that this would have just come off if you were to do it in the basin, but then you wouldn't have been able to get the balayage kind of placement. So now what I'm going to do is take her to the basin, wet this down, give it a bit of an emulsifier just to quickly get that last remaining pink off the roots, and then I'm going to bring her back and show you. Actually, I might take you with me so you can see. Here we are in my bathroom, and I'm going to just show you what I would do if this were a client. So she's ready to rinse. I'm going to just wet her down a little. Probably wouldn't do this if it was a client actually. I'd make it a bit more comfortable, but she doesn't complain. I'm going to get the remaining bleach that was in my bowl and just give her a real quick shampoo. Just getting those roots and scrubbing them. Because I didn't go right to the root with my colour removal, I just kind of feathered it, so I know there'll be bits in there that are still pink that I've missed. Giving it all a squish. Not going to leave it in there long enough that it's going to lift her roots, just to take the pink. She doesn't mind a bit of bleach in her eyes. I have fun. I'm just kind of focusing on the parts where I can see there's still a little bit of pink, and I'm just giving them a rub. But most of it's looking really good, and it's only been 5 minutes. And that's good. You want it to be nice and quick because you don't want to lift those roots. Once you're happy with that, rinse it off, light condition, and then we're going to decide what we're going to tone it with, or what the next step of our colour is going to be. So it's at this point when you come out from washing it that you want to just put something in to help you detangle, and also just as a little bit of a porosity equaliser as well, just to kind of fill those potholes so that the next colour that you do over the top of it is going to come out nice and even for you. And this is one of my favourite brushes. It is called the Happy Hairbrush, and it's amazing, and I use it all the time, and it's just so good at like brushing out any knots or any teasing. If I'm ever doing teasing with a balayage and I need to brush them out, this brush is amazing. It doesn't look like anything fancy, but I promise you it's the best. And it's an Australian company. I always want to just make sure I can get a comb through it, especially before I do a toner. Otherwise, you'll be trying to apply your toner and you'll be battling knots, you know. So best to give it a good brush before then. I just want to bring you nice and close so you can really see the results that we've got here. So we've basically taken her back to about the same lightness she was before I put the colours on her. She's still got a pink scalp. So that's what I've got. That's the result. And that was just hot. Took me 10 minutes to apply, and it was sitting in there for no longer than 10 minutes. So within 20 minutes, she's nearly back to blank canvas. I have struggled though to remove those rainbow pieces. So that's the situation. Now, if this was my client, I would be, whoops. If this was my client, I'd be showing her this and kind of deciding what to do from here, and consulting her as well. So I would just say, look, this has happened. This hasn't come out as easily as the rest. I can do it again. I can isolate it a bit more. I can put it in a foil and actually bleach it to see if I can get more out, because I'm pretty confident I would be able to get some more out. But I would just explain to them, but doing that is going to cause significantly more damage to your hair. And when you've got little pieces like this around the front of the face, they're always going to be naturally finer as well. So, you know, just weigh it up. Is it really worth damaging your hair? And I'll discuss this with my client too. So they're always going to be a part of my decision. It's not just me going off and thinking, oh, I know what I'm doing. I don't know what I'm doing. Not all the time. Sometimes. But yeah, I just like to involve them and include them in it. And, you know, maybe they'll say, oh yeah, do it. It's all right if I get a bit of breakage. I don't mind. We'll just layer it in the front. Cool. Then I'll do that. Or if they say, oh, it's all right, just, you know, tone it. Maybe we can tone it and just kind of leave them in there because they still look pretty cool. Or the other thing that you could do is maybe look at putting another vivid over the top. So taking those sections and instead of having them rainbow this time, putting a blue piece over the top, or a purple, or you know, whatever, a red, whatever you think is going to kind of cover the colors that you've still got in there. So those are your options. Lighten again, do another vivid over the top, or just leave it be, put the blonde toner over it, and just kind of leave it alone for a little while. It'll just go away kind of naturally. It'll just fade more over time. So those are your options. And yeah, it's all about being realistic. It's not always achievable that you are going to get a perfect blank canvas. It's not always going to happen. So yeah, there's no like magic recipe. It's just, it is what it is. That's how it is. So I'm going to mix up a toner now. Looking at this hair, it is quite brassy, kind of orangey yellow. So I am going to go and mix up, I'm going to see what I've got first, and then I'll come back and tell you what I'm going to mix up. Turns out I'm a little low on colors, so we're going to just make this work with what I have. I'll show you what I'm going to mix. Can you see me there? Yep, sort of. So I'm going to use my scales. I hope you can see. I'm sorry if you can't. You'll just have to trust me. I like to measure in grams. And all I kind of had was this affinage champagne. I've got lavender, and then I've got a really dark grey, like with a 6. So here's what I'm going to do. So the champagne, which is actually quite ashy, it's a really good colour. Alright, so we'll just say that's 25 grams of just my champagne, which is just a nice creamy blonde. I'm going to add some violet because I've got some yellow tones in here that I want to take care of, because violet counteracts the yellow. And we do have a little bit of brassiness in the hair too, so I'm going to use an ash as well, just a little bit of ash, not much, just like just a dot there, just a little bit. So I've essentially just made like a level 9 ash violet ash is kind of what I'm going for. Then I'm going to go 2 to 1 with a 5 vol, so 3, 6, 9, 90 grams. Thereabouts. Yeah, there you go. And that's just 5 vol. Mix that up and apply to the lot. You want to make sure you mix it really well. You don't want any lumps in there, especially when you go mixing lots of different types of colors like together and it's not just one straight color. You don't want to end up with little speckles of color. I'm just going to start from the back again. You could do this in the basin if you wanted to. You could bring it back to the chair, whatever is easiest for you. The toner is on, let's give it 10 minutes and see how it comes out. I'm back with the finished results. And this is what we've got after the colour remover, which was the bleach and 10 vol, and a toner as well. So you can see all that pink is gone. There's no pink left in there. I mean, that's just the colour of my mannequin's scalp, but that is just completely gone out. And the front, the rainbow pieces was a little harder to come out. As you can see, not all of that colour has come out. But I'm not worried, and I wanted to show you this because this is real life. Like, I can't always get the colours out either. So don't feel bad if you are having problems getting these colors out. They're hard to get out, so you know, it's completely normal. It's fine. I would rather show you this and that it didn't work than not make this video, you know, just because it didn't work. It's an important thing to understand, and I just think I'm always going to be a glass half full kind of person. So just don't worry if you can't get all of the color out. Instead, you know, start thinking about what you can do and don't worry about what you can't do. There's no use dwelling on it. I love it. I think it looks awesome, honestly. I just think that looks so cool. Yeah, just go with it, or start thinking about what you can do and stop worrying about what you can't do, because sometimes it's just not worth the battle. It's just not worth trying to bleach and bleach and bleach and then having her hair fall off. You know what I mean? Yeah, I really hope that that's been helpful for today and just kind of given you a few different techniques to try and shown you the results. Her hair still feels great and looks nice and shiny and bouncy. I put some curls in there. If you have gotten a lot of useful information out of today, can I please ask you a personal favor for me to go and subscribe to my YouTube channel, where I will be sharing a lot more information like this. It does take me a long time to put these videos together, so if you could please just click the button for me, I would be very, very grateful. I want to take you outside now and just show you how that looks in the outdoor lighting, because we're in some very yellow lighting right here. Take you out. You know when they say lighting is everything? Lighting is everything. So this is the outdoor lighting. I really hope that's been a helpful video for you today. If you're interested, I do have a few more. I've got also a video on how I do my photo editing and how I take my photos and everything like that, if you're interested. Thank you so much for watching that today. I hope that's been really helpful. Don't forget to like this video, share it with anyone if you think it is relevant for them, and please subscribe to my YouTube channel. Thank you so much. Goodbye.